everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Concrete with the Hosses. Today, I said morning. It's about 12:30 in the afternoon. I'm going to jump in the 226B. I'm going to put the breaker on it. I have to go down to a plant that we started working at last year. It's a polymer plant. It's only about a mile from my house. They're having a problem in their bay areas where the floor seems to be heaving, and we went in last year, made a couple repairs, and it's still going on throughout the whole building. So we started talking about it, and I suggested maybe doing a soil study. What's under there that keeps pushing this concrete up? You know, do we want to just keep making repairs, or do we want to come in and do something and make it all right again? So every time I get into a different situation, if I don't know the answer, I'm sure a lot of people are the same way. They have a go-to person. So this is like an excavation question. So I have a real good friend. He has his excavation company. Same as me, in business about 30 years, and just knows everything there is to know about dirt, soils, how to dig it, you know, just everything there is, machinery. So I reached out to him and I said, hey Mike, how do I go about getting a soil study? So he said, you know, tell me why, you know, what do you need a soil study for? So I filled him in on this industrial plant we're working at, and he said, well, when was it built? And I said, well, back in like the 60s, 50s or 60s. And he said, well, I guarantee what you're going to find, you're going to tear up some concrete and you're going to find compacted, rock hard dust, like a granular dust. And he told me that is, and I apologize if I get some of the terminology wrong, like a slag dust. It came from the old mills, and it's a byproduct, and it was cheap, and they used it underneath slabs because it was real nice to work with, and it compacted. The only problem is they found out that once it gets moisture, it expands. So I'm going to go ahead and tear up a little bit of concrete and see if that's the problem. We'll see how right he was. So he's my excavation guy. I have a mechanic guy. I have people everywhere that I just call welding, fabricating. You know, I need a good concrete guy to call. So I'm going to go ahead and get the machine hooked up, get loaded, and get on the road. This is an older one. You have to hold in the glow plugs, but it starts every time. Voila. Boy, is that windshield dirty. This is the one I used in the garage tear out we just did. So it's filthy dirty. I got to get in and get it clean, but I'm going to go do this first. Okay, you can just see how there's a huge hump right here. So this is the worst spot. So I'm going to bust a little hole right here. They're used to staying out of this area because it might take us a couple weeks to get some reports back. Same thing the whole way down there. Just a huge hump. If you remember last year, we did a strip along there, and we had talked about doing something more then, but decided to hold off, and maybe we'll address it all right now. So I'll move all this back. Right here is where we're getting started. one, I thought it'd be a lot thicker. It's only about 4 inches thick. Let's see what that material is underneath there. 4 inches of concrete. We dug out about 4 inches of limestone. And look at all this sandy. It even smells like slag. Oh yeah. So I'm going to dig into there a little bit and we'll get a sample. Perfect. All right, we'll see. Yeah, I have one sample. This is limestone and subbase. Now I got rid of all the limestone. Now I'll get a sample just down here. This stuff is really hard, just like Mike said it would be. So I'll dig a little bit more and I'll put it in its own separate bucket. He said we'll probably see about 6 to 8 inches of it. The concrete was very thin. That explains why the fork trucks were breaking it up. It doesn't explain why the floor is heaving like it is. So with that subbase material, I'm going to run it over and have it looked at. Maybe send it out to a lab. And get it analyzed. And then we can determine the best way to go. So here we are back down at this plant getting ready to do demo. I took my samples home and I called my friend Mike, who I was going to report to. Unfortunately, he was out of town, but I described it to him and he said without a doubt mill slag. So as I was taking the sample, a couple of the guys from the plant were standing there in the background, and they said, "Oh, look what you found under there. That's mill slag." I remember that smell, and it gives off like a gassy smell as you start messing with it. So there's two. So one more step. I took the buckets to another excavation company that I work with sometimes. And I didn't even give him the background on it. I said, "Hey, what do you think this is?" And he looked in the bucket and he said, "That's mill slag from the 60s. So all the arrows, everything is pointing to, okay, this is what's going on. So I took that all back to the owner of the company, who, by the way, rents the building. So we're trying to do this as inexpensively as we can because they're responsible for all the maintenance, including the repairs and upgrades of this commercial industrial building. So we're going to push forward without a soil study, and we're all very confident that it's mill slag and that is the cause of the problem. So here we are, demo day. So everybody has their ear protection in. The guys are getting set up to do their saw cuts all around me. And I am just nibbling away, chipping away through the middle, and then I'll follow it up around the edges. So come on along. I hope you enjoy the video and watch this slab get torn out. Now this is a nice winter day. So here we are. This is middle of January, and it's quite warm outside, but it's really rainy. We're getting probably rain every other day, and it's January, so we don't really want to pour anything outside because we know winter is coming. It's just a matter of when. So it's real nice work to have inside. You can see we're just in sweatshirts and not all bundled up with our winter gear on, so quite comfortable, just a little bit noisy. So once Matt gets the saw going there, flooding everything with water to keep the dust down for all the other workers, and just keep pushing forward. So here's a close-up of Jim running our walk-behind saw. We want to cut all the way through the concrete and really separate those pads. As I'm hammering on the edge, I don't want to send a crack through a pad that we didn't want to take out, or chip up an edge and make it look bad for our employer. So just trying to cut it the full depth and getting a little bit of vibration, wiggle room there. It's quite noisy, so again, voiceover is necessary here. Flooding the area, you can see we have a garden hose hooked to it. Quite messy, but no dust. We have probably 50 employees working at the plant 20 feet away, so we didn't want to disturb their process and interrupt. Okay, it's quite noisy out there. I'll bring the camera in here for a little bit. So I only have this strip here to do and one more pad. Now that the guys got it all saw cut, I'll bring it all the way up to the edge. Punching through real nice. It's only about 6 inches thick. Very little reinforcement in it. Now once I get over to our repair last year, we drilled and pinned together. So I want to make sure I'm pulverized, that I can pull that debris away. If I try and hammer it and pick it up, we're going to chip that new section. So right here, really want to make sure I do a good job at breaking up the middle before I get to that edge. Okay, that went really well. You can see down here I'm 6, maybe even 7, 8 inches thick. 6s anyways. We got a couple areas up there that were pretty thick. That's how I'm going to leave it today. Be back tomorrow with a skid loader and dump truck. And we're going to go ahead and load all this debris out of here and get ready to pour. See you then. Okay, good morning. Day 2. We're going to go ahead and dig all this debris out. We got the machine pulled in. It's warming up real nice. We got a couple inches of snow again last night. These are not like tire machines. We have to make sure to keep this mud and debris away from here. This was frozen this morning and I had to get a hammer and chisel and dig that mud away. You have to make sure you protect those final drives. You can't leave them sit overnight with mud around that sprocket. It'll freeze and you'll rip the final drive out of it. So keep those clean. I got to do a better job at that. This tire here is low. So Tom's using the air from the truck to fill it up. And we are underway shortly. As soon as this warms up a little bit more, we're going to get started. I have the guys doing a late start. As soon as I get this debris dug out, they're going to start drilling and pinning for our new concrete touching the old concrete. So I'll go to time lapse and start digging. Talk to you soon. Okay, we just switched trucks. That was one load. We're about 25% of the way done, so 4 loads ought to do it. All right, and this truck's a little bit bigger, so we'll see if we can't get that down to 3, but I thought we were going to see a lot more mill slag. There was only about 4 inches of mill slag, so once we get that out, we'll see what this orange stuff looks like. That might be debris we need to get out of there as well. All right, keep digging. Okay, so I got all the concrete torn out. Now I'm down to the mill slag. This is real hard. And then once I dig through it, it just turns to like a powdery brown. You can actually smell a little bit of the, like a gassy odor to it. So I'm gonna leave it right here for now. The guys are showing up. They're gonna start drilling holes around the perimeter. We'll cut this clean, cut those rebar off. I have one more section to demo, and we'll be back in action here real soon. Okay, demo is all done. I wanted to show you this angle right here. You can see how that concrete has a hump in the middle. There's a tripper hazard here. The fork trucks kept hitting a bump right here. So we saw cut 4 feet back and removed that. There's a big crack down the middle of this pad. You can see how there's just a big hump in here. That's all that expandable soil, that's mill slag. We're about done digging. We're down to the real bottom of the material. You can see some bigger aggregate that they put in originally. I think they were trying to choke it off. We're down to about the water table. I feel like if I go any deeper, we're going to start to see groundwater. So I'm going to stop there. I believe this is all like an expandable clay material. With the moisture from the groundwater, it's swelling and heaving this up. So we dug a lot of that out, and hopefully this is the worst part, and it won't continue to do this throughout the slab. Now this building has been here since the 60s, so for whatever reason, maybe some geographical changes have taken place around here that diverted water under this building. Who knows? But for whatever reason, it waited 50, 60 years to heave. So we corrected that, and now we're going to start putting our 2B limestone in, a sheet of plastic for some moisture protection, and get some concrete going. Okay, just doing some fine grading. Might need 1 or 2 more buckets right here. Matt's on the tamper. We'll give this a final check. We're going for about 8 inches thick. They back tractor trailers in here. We're not that thick over here, but that's what we're doing. Probably 1 more bucket here. Okay, just checking my grade. 9, 8, 8, 8, and 8. And that is after tamping, so we are good. Okay, I just came back inside, got all the machinery out there, leveled up our spoils from in here. Here you go. All tamped, 8 inches thick, vapor barrier, and rebar being cut to length. Nice 2 foot to 4 foot overlap. I guess a lot of the places out there you have to tape these seams. I haven't heard of that here yet. We just do a nice big overlap, and that's how we've been doing it for years. We'll go ahead and get the rebar in place. Alright, okay, that's how we're going to leave it for today. I have to go get 3-inch chairs and pick this rebar up. Everything's tied. All of our tools are in. That way they're not covered with snow in the morning. We're going to go ahead and pull this truck out and see you here in the morning. Don't be late. Okay, that was 8 yards. Lens a little bit foggy. cold outside. It's about 80 degrees in here. It's pretty warm. We should have wore shorts today. Rebar are all up on 3-inch chairs. We're pouring about 8 inches thick, so we just wanted to keep them bottom half all pinned in. Number 2 truck will be pulling in here. He's just mixing up outside. Keep all that exhaust outside from full rev. Pulling them in here shortly. Okay, brought them in, going around our next pour down there. Doing a nice mix from truck 2 to truck 3. We don't want a defined line there. We just put the new concrete over top of the old. We have about a 4-foot blend right there. And it's only been on the ground about 15 minutes. Okay, there it is all poured. Steve's going to start edging that while we hopefully finish pouring this. Truck's getting pretty empty. I'm kind of thinking we don't have enough for this pad, but we'll go as far as we can. As soon as we make that decision, I'll get on the phone and call them and get it coming if we need it. All right, here we go. We're going to go ahead and put our tool cuts in today. No saw cutting tomorrow. 1, 2, 3 cuts, and that's it. Okay, this is all done. Jim, we got one little spot right up there. Needs hit. 1, 2, 3 pads are done. Final pad, final truck. This and that. We'll get you some troweling on this. Kind of boring, just back and forth, hitting. But we'll get you some footage on this final one. That's what we're looking for right there. Okay, I may have to do a voiceover on this. It's quite noisy in here. Final stretch of concrete. This is our last truck. They don't need me on there. I'll just do a little bit of talking, a little bit of videoing. I might jump in and help on this edge. The concrete's all real nice, real rounded. So all it needs is just shroud shut, touching up that joint. We like our tool joints to be nice and crisp, nice and full. They took all my troweling stuff down there. Now, you need me to get a trowel and hit this edge, or are you good? Need me to help on this edge? Now that the concrete's tighter, you can see how they turn their trowels up a little bit steeper. Flexing that. consolidating that surface. We have a lot of different pitches going on here, and if this was bigger, we would have brought a power trowel, but it's really not a big area. It's only about 800 square feet, so we don't need a power trowel just for that. The sliders are nice. You can just crawl backwards on the concrete. You don't have to stand up and move your knee boards. Once the concrete hardens up, you see how it starts taking on a nice shine as they put a finished trowel on it. It's real helpful at this final stage. Keep the edge of your trowel clean. You'll notice every once in a while Matt will wipe it on his pant leg or wipe your fingers down it. Be careful, they're very sharp. So either way you do it, but it's important to keep that clean. Okay, there it is, all done. Now they can roll their forklifts right over this without hitting corners, sunken areas, raised areas. The guys took care of that speed bump down there. So let's get outside. So there was about a 2-inch bump right here. So we corrected that. Now the forklifts can come right through here. There's still a hump in the floor. I imagine next year we'll be back connecting this up. And like I said the whole way through this video, I wish we could have just taken that whole thing out and lowered this down. But we're just here doing repairs. Noisy inside. I started reading up on expandable soils. It's quite interesting. And this could have been part of the problem. They say that expandable soil tend to form at the base of a hill. Well, here we are right at the base of this hill. So all these silts roll down here over years and they build structures on top of them. So if that wasn't cleared out, then that could have been expandable soil. And I was surprised. Every region in the world has different types of expandable soil. In the US, where is the most common place for expandable soils? Any guesses?
Hawaii.
Now I just said, oh, good guess. I just said at the base of hills.
Tallahassee.
Anybody else?
No.
Colorado Springs. How about that? Colorado Springs is known for the most expandable soils. Joe, that's your area out there. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Thanks for tuning in to Concrete with the Hosses. See you on, it's quite cold out here. See you on the next one. Okay, everybody, I'm back here at the garage. It was getting kind of hard to talk out there. It was windy, cold, and a lot of noise from that building. But I did want to close out this video just touching on the expandable soil issue that we had. Now, whether it was mill slag, which was definitely present and probably a big part of it, we found that orangish clay material underneath it. Now, clay or silts is a big form of expandable soils. Now, it's not a big deal until it gets mixed with water. Whether it's runoff from the hillside, maybe something changed outside, downspouts aren't working, drainage isn't working properly throughout the parking lot, anything is possible there. So once moisture becomes in contact with that soil, it expands, and of course, most likely it's easier to come up than go down, and it heaves the concrete, buildings, driveways, sidewalks, whatever's on top of it. Now, if you ever see that, they say to do a 4-foot over dig for your projects if you run into expandable soil. We did not do that. We just cleaned out the debris that we could. We were getting down to the water table, so I didn't want to go any lower. So we stopped. We put about 8 inches of limestone in there to get a buffer and gave it a light compaction, and hopefully that'll take care of the issues. We were working for the tenants of the building, not the owner, so they just wanted to fix their fork truck tripping hazards. So that's what we did. If it were your building or my building, maybe we would have come in and taken all the trouble area out, did a nice big over dig, and got the floor down to its original height. Maybe you'll see us back there again doing just that. We're going to touch more on expandable soils in the upcoming videos. I want to bring in somebody more knowledgeable than me, and we can talk about it and what we should all be looking for out there. Silts or clays. There's a lot of information online that you can look at. If you have any questions on it, if you're looking to do a build, you might want to look into it. Thanks for tuning in to Conquer with Hosses. See you on the next one.